when we got our air fryer. We wanted to use it in order to make a healthier lifestyle and cook indoors. I'm sorry, not indoors, but cook in more often than we cook out. And so one of the things that can mess that up is when you don't have meats already defrosted. But there are several cuts of meat that work fine even if you don't defrost them. And what this tape is going to show you, what this video is going to show, is how I use the air fryer, the Ninja air fryer, which we got for Christmas and Christmas of 2018, and how we use it. I use it to cook, in this particular case, thinly cut ribeye steak. So I got this on sale at Pick and Save here in Milwaukee. I'm newly transplanted from Phoenix to Milwaukee, and it just seems like there's more variety of meat here compared to Phoenix, where it once were. So anyway, they have thinner cuts of ribeye, and I like the thinner cuts because I can eat an entire thinner cut ribeye, whereas if I have an inch thick ribeye, it takes me a couple of meals, and sometimes I don't eat it, and there's some waste involved. So this is a totally frozen, thinner ribeye steak. I've taken it out of the freezer about 2 minutes before I started making this video. And what I'm doing here is I am spraying it down with some oil. I held up that Pam oil, but it's not Pam in there. It's just regular olive oil that I got out of a bottle. It works just as fine. And I'm also covering this with some seasoning. I think it's called Wauwatosa. It's something that we bought here in Milwaukee, but you could use any kind of steak seasoning, powdered steak seasoning. I didn't add any salt. I'm trying to cut back on salt, and plus I use Lea & Perrins, which has salt in it, to season at the end, or A1 has salt in it. So I'm doing this to both sides, spraying it with oil, spraying it with that Wauwatosa steak seasoning, and some pepper. And now I'm going over to my Ninja air fryer, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use the air fryer at its full temperature. I'm not going to use the bake or the fry. Pretty much everything I do now is at its full temperature, at the highest temperature. So I'm just cutting it on. I'm going to try this for 5 minutes, but this is the very first time that I've used this cut of meat cut this thinly. And as I review in a later slide at the end, I would just go ahead and just do either 5 minutes each side or maybe 6 minutes each side, 6 minutes on each side. Okay, so this is a top view, looking down on the air fryer there. What I've done is I've left it in there, and 5 minutes has gone by. It doesn't look fully cooked to me, and so I was thinking I was going to put it in there for another couple of minutes, but then I thought, well, let me flip it over and see, and then let's just go as planned, 5 minutes on each side. But in this case, what I did was, I think I changed my mind, and I upped it from 5 minutes to 7 minutes. So the first side was for 5 minutes, the second side was for 7 minutes, and I think really in the future, if I had the same cut of meat, I would probably just do 6 minutes on each side and leave it alone. Why don't I use my meat thermometer? It doesn't seem to register as well on these thin cuts of meat. It just doesn't have enough width to it to get an accurate reading. Alright, so I'm letting it cook. It's about coming to the end of its cook time. Also, I noticed it with thinner cuts of meat. In order to get that nice browned caramelized color, I think I added another minute or two here because I'm kind of experimenting again. But in order to get that nice caramelized brown color, you're going to have more difficulty with thin cuts of meat, because by the time you get that nice caramelization on the outside of the meat, the inside of the meat is now probably at well done, or at very least medium well, which maybe you don't like it that high. I prefer my steaks at medium or medium well. So now I like the way that it looks. I'm flipping it over here. So far we've done 5 minutes, and then the second side for probably 6 or 7 minutes, 7 minutes I think it is. And now I'm going to add another couple of minutes on this side. So, but I think that without interruption, either 6 minutes each side or 7 minutes each side for a steak this thin would be pretty effective. Well, the one thing about these Ninja things is very slight changes in the texture or the thinness or the thickness of the meat how many pieces of whatever you're cooking. If you crowd it too much, all that will have an effect on the cook time. So with the air fryer, you really have to be willing to open it up periodically and look at it. It's not quite until you really familiarize yourself with the particular cut you are using and how much you are putting in the bin. It's going to take you 2 or 3 times with the same recipe to figure out how many minutes. And then I put all that into a computer log, a Google Doc log that I can put on my phone. But I couldn't use my old one because I decided to go with a much thicker cut. My usual cut that I use is about 1 inch thick, or a little bit less than 1 inch. Alright, so this is basically 7 minutes on each side, and I'm satisfied with it now. So I'm going to put it on my plate with my salad. I'm just going with a pretty simple meal here of a ribeye steak with a salad and some salad dressing. I'm just cutting it open here. I would say that this is probably medium well. I saw some slight pinkness on the inside of the meat, but definitely is edible for my taste. Alright, so general thoughts. So for a thin steak, I would either use 5 or maybe 6 minutes each side. If you're not finagling with it, the cook times are reduced because you're not opening the bin and letting all the heat out. So even though it took much more than that today. For thick steak, use up to 7 minutes, and just remember that browning is more effective for thicker cuts. Thinner cuts will tend to overcook the inside by the time you get that nice caramelization on the outside. Alright, thanks for watching. I'll do more of these recipes and put them on YouTube. Thank you for watching. Bye.